to you all. Trust you are all doing well. Today too is another day, and I am your facilitator for today's study board. Without wasting my time, let's move on to today's topic. Today, we will be treating linear equations. Linear equations. Before we start with treating any question under linear equations, we need to be familiar with the general steps in solving such equation. Because in solving for any mathematics question, and you are not familiar with the steps very well, you will find difficulties in solving that particular question. Let's go through the steps. With step 1, check if there are fractions. When given the question, if there are any fractions, you need to solve that one first. Divide the denominators. Find the LCM for the denominators and divide it through to clear the fractions. Secondly, when you have a mixed fraction in that question, make sure you change it to improper fraction before you divide the LCM through to clear the fractions. Because you can't just divide with the mixed fraction. You need to change into your improper fractions. Step 2, check if there are brackets. If there are brackets, expand and remove the brackets from there for you to solve it very well. Step 3, group like terms. After removing your brackets, if there are any like terms, group the constant numbers at the other side. You can group the variables too at the other side. Normally, we group the variables with the letters at the left hand side. But for it to be easier for you, you also do it at the right hand side. The last step, simplify both sides of the equation and solve for the variable letters. Simplify both sides of the equations and solve for the variable letters. After you have grouped like terms, simplify both sides and find for the variable letter. With these steps, I know we can take a trial example and see how we can solve it using these steps. Before solving the first example, you need to put these steps in your head. They are just 4. They are just 4. First step, check if they are fractions. If they are fractions, divide the LCM through to clear the fractions. If there is a mixed fraction in it, change it to improper before you divide the LCM through to clear the fractions. Step 2, check if they are brackets. If they are brackets, remove the bracket and expand the equation. After removing it, you group like terms. The constant numbers at the other side and the variables at the other side. Step 4, after grouping like terms, simplify both sides of the equations and solve for the variable letter. With these steps, let's take the first example and see how we can solve it. I know by now you've written the steps already, so I know you are not screaming in your houses. With the first example, that is example 1, we have 7x equals 14. When given a question like this, 7x equals 14, what do you do? For you to solve a question like this, you need to divide both sides by the coefficient of x. When you talk about coefficient of something, coefficient means a number attached by an alphabet. For example, you have something like this, 4b, and they ask you to divide by the coefficient of b. You all know that the coefficient of b is what? 4, because the number is being attached to the what? Alphabet. That's it. So with this, what do you do? It says you should divide both sides by the coefficient of x. Why did they say both sides? Because there is an equal sign in between these numbers and variables. The equal sign makes it 2 sides. You have the first side and the second side. This is the first side and the second side. So before we can solve for such a question like this, we divide these both sides by the coefficient of x. And we all know the coefficient of x is 7. So let's divide this side by 7 and divide this side too by 7. After doing this, you all know this sign means division. 7 divides itself 1, divides itself 1. 7 can divide 14. 7 divides itself 1 and divides 14 2 times. After this, what do you have? You are left with only x. So x equals 2. Then you come down. Therefore, x equals 2. You are done. You see, it's very simple when using the general steps. It's very, very simple. With the general step, the first step said, if you have a fraction in it, find or use the LCM to clear the fraction. With this question, we aren't having any fraction in it. So what did we do? We divided both sides by the coefficient of x, which was 7. After dividing, we had 2. That means x equals 2. Let's take the second example. That is example 2. We have 3x equals 12. What do? This question is similar to the first question we just did. With this one, what do? We have both sides, the first side and the second side. With this, we will apply the same method we did for the first example we did. We are dividing both sides by a coefficient of x. And you all know, in this question, the coefficient of x is 3. So let's divide both sides by 3. 3 divides itself 1 and divides itself 1. 3 divides itself 1 and divides 12 4 times. So we now have x equals 4. Therefore, x equals 4. This is also simple. With this, we aren't having any fraction in it for us to clear the fractions from there. So what did we do? We divided both sides by the coefficient of x, and the coefficient of x was 3. After dividing both sides by the coefficient of x, we found 4, which is x equals 4. With this example, I know you are getting it. And with the next example, you will soon get everything. Let's take the third example. Example 3. For example 3, we have x over 2 equals 5. This is example 3. And I know most of you, after seeing this, it seems you are stranded. Yes. You think this is very difficult, but this is the easiest among all. Why do I say that? Our first step says, if you have any fraction in it, what do? Divide both sides by the LCM to clear that fraction. You know we have a fraction, x over 2. This is another side, so this is also over 1. So LCM is what? 2. So let's divide this side and this side by 2. That means 2 is multiplying both sides. So 2 times x over 2 equals 5 times 2. After doing this, what do? Cancel out, divide, and clear the fraction from there. 2 can divide itself 1 and divide this 1. We now have x over 1, which is x. So we have x equals 5 times 2 is 10. Very simple. You are done. Didn't I tell you that this was the simplest among all? This is very simple, and I know you'll be getting it with the trial I'll be giving you to solve at your various homes. This is the next example for you to solve, and you have less than 40 seconds to solve this work for me. Take this trial I can solve. 5x minus 10 equals 40. That is example 4. You have less than 40 seconds to solve this. Try your hands on that.
Row, row, row your boat gently down
example that I gave you to solve. Let me assist you in solving this question, and by the end, you mark yourself whether you had it correct, you had it wrong, or you are now about to get it correct. It's up to you to determine whether you had it correct or wrong. Solution. What do you do? For you to solve such a question like this, in our step, the step 3 says group like terms aside. How do you group like terms? We group the constant numbers at one side and numbers containing the variables at the other side. We normally group numbers containing the variables at the right hand side for it to be easier for you to solve, and the constant numbers at the left hand side. Let's do that. This is a constant number. This is also a constant number. Before that, bear in mind, when solving an equation whereby a negative number crosses the equal sign, that negative number tends to be positive. When it is a positive number and it crosses the equal sign, it tends to be what? Negative. We are now grouping like terms. 5x, because this is a constant number, this is also a constant number. This will cross this sign to join the 40 at one particular side. 5x, you bring the equal sign, the 40 is already there, he's coming to meet you in his home. 40, this is minus. The minus is attached to the 10, not the 5. So when the minus is attached to it, the minus is also going along with him. So after going along, when he gets there, it turns to what? Positive, plus 10. Hope you are getting it. With this, what do? Add the constant numbers. 5x equals the constant numbers. We have 5x equals 40 plus 10. I hope you all know the answer. To be 50. After this, you've gotten it. What do you do here? Divide both sides by the coefficient of x. And the coefficient of x in this question is what? 5. Let's divide both sides by 5. 5 cancels 5. 5 divides itself 1. And cancel 50 10 times. Therefore, x equals 10. Hope you all had the answer. Yes. I know someone is looking at me, the person didn't get it. But don't worry. With the next example, you will soon get the answer. Take your next trial example and let's see who will get it first. With this example, please try as much as possible to get the answer correct for me. Take this. That is example 5. You have 3x plus 5 equals 26. 3x plus 5 equals 26. Try this and give me your feedback. The answer. Yeah. Let's try doing this example. After doing this, we'll see who had it wrong and who had it correct. Solution. You could see that with this example, it's similar to what I gave you earlier on. That was the first example to you. With this, it's the same question, but it's just that with this constant number, addition is attached to it. So what do? We group like terms, and with these like terms, we are grouping all the constant numbers at the other side and the numbers containing variables at the other side. So you have 3x equals, you have your 26 already. This 5 is crossing to this side. Because it's carrying an addition sign, after it crosses the equal sign, it turns towards negative, minus 5. 3x equals 26 minus 5 is 21. Divide both sides by the coefficient of x, which is 3. 3 divides itself 1, 1. 3 divides itself 1 and divides 21 7 times. Therefore, you have x equals 7. I hope you all had the answer, and it's very simple for you. With this is type 1 for linear equations, and type 1, that is letters grouped at a particular side. We want to move on to type 2. Type 2 is the letters being grouped at both sides of the question. Having a question something like this, you have 8x plus 5 equals sign, you also have 4x plus 2. This is a typical question for type 2. Type 2, the variables are being grouped at different sides. Let's take the type 2 and see how we can solve. With type 2, for you to solve a question under a type 2 for linear equations, bear in mind, because it has 2 variables in it, group each of them at a particular side and group the constant numbers at the other hand side. Let's take this question and see how we can solve it. 8x minus 4 equals 3x plus 11. With this question, you can see that it's different from what we solved. That means it differs. The one we just solved was type 1, and as I said, this is type 2. So with this, you are not only grouping the constant numbers alone, but you are grouping numbers attached with letters to at a particular side. We have 8x, we also have 3x. They have something in common. So what do? 8x, this crosses to this side. It is an addition sign. When it crosses, giving you subtraction, you bring your equal sign. 11 is already there, so you put 11 there. 4 crosses to the 11 side, giving you an addition because it's what? Subtraction is crossing the equal sign, changing towards addition, plus 4. 8 minus 3, giving us what? 5 with the x, equals 11 plus 4, giving us 15. Divide both sides by the coefficient of x, which is 5. 5 divides itself 1, divides itself 1, 5 divides here 1, and divides 15 3 times. Therefore, x equals 3. Hope you are getting this. It's very simple. We are just using our steps. And with using the steps, it's simple in solving a particular question like this. Let's take the next example. With the next example, you'll be familiar with everything. Take this example. You have 3x minus 5 equals 5x plus 6.